Yeah, I think this has been the most interesting thing I've learned maybe over the last year, orbiting a number of people talking about why is modern society so fat. There's all of these images from the 1960s of beaches in America and everyone looks lean and athletic. And you see, it's because of the insert your favorite food demon of choice here. It's the red 40, it's the seed oils, it's the carcinogens in the water, it's the estrogen levels, it's the whatever. But the sort of Occam's razor of this is just food is tastier, more calorie dense, cheaper and more available than it's ever been before.
Yes.
What did you think was going to happen? What would it just from first principles, just make that, forget the constitution of it. What's the molecular way? Is it artificial or is it natural? What do you think would happen to those people?
Yes. Very predictable. And in a certain sense, a little bit disappointing, because it would be cool if we could have like one type of food additive or something in the water supply that we discovered was insanely obesogenic, and we managed to put in some sensible regulation and take it out of the water supply or reduce it by a factor of 1,000. And everyone just like over the next year had this renaissance where they leaned up. That would be awesome. It would be awesome for two reasons. One, it would solve the problem really quick. And two, it would remove any onus of actually the problem's worse than you thought. It's like if you go to couples therapy for a while and you want your partner to change, and after like 12 sessions, the psychiatrist or psychologist requests you come alone, and she kind of like dances around it and she's like, "You're the problem, Chris. It's kind of all on you. Nancy's great. She's been great the whole time. It's you." You're like, "That's not what I went to couples therapy to hear." And so when someone's like, "It's actually all the insanely tasty food you love to eat all the time that's making you super fat," you got a tendency to be like, what, I gotta stop eating that stuff? But wasn't it the microplastics? Can I make microplastics tasty? So at some point, it's this insanely simple reason that describes probably 90% or more of the variance in obesity from historical times to now. But it's also a bit like, crap. It's like trying to make it on a JV basketball team. And you're like, "Coach, is it hard? Do I have to practice dribbling anymore?" And it's like, "You're just an Ashkenazi Jew, dude. You're never going to be good at this." That's what I heard from my basketball coach when I was 5'0" back in, just kidding. I'm not 5 feet yet. One day, Chris, I'll get up there. It's something you don't want to hear, but once you process it, you're like, of course it's true. The good news is, for the first time in history, we can start taking real big bites out of that, no pun intended, with modern pharmacology, which is going to save us all from everything. Begin insane rant about how drugs are great, but Ozempic and all of those drugs. And I do find it at this point comical that Ozempic gets all the attention that it gets, because this is a third generation GLP-1 agonist. There's already in late stage clinical trials a fifth generation agonist.
Ozempic, tirzepatide.
That's Gen 4.
Oh, Ozempic's Gen 3.
Right.
Okay. So I think a lot of people have sort of reset the number because 1 and 2 kind of
yeah. It's like liraglutide and stuff.
And what's the fifth gen, which is the one that's really hard to pronounce?
So there's a bunch of them, but I pronounce it retatrutide.
Right.
You can also say it retatrutide if you want to say like 3 words instead of 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So like retatrutide is not a GLP-1 agonist technically. It's a triple agonist. It's a GLP, GIP, glucagon agonist. Not only does it kibosh your appetite from 2 different separate pathways, but somehow, I have no idea how, these guys managed to modulate the glucagon pathway to increase your resting metabolic rate. Retatrutide is Gen 5. It was invented years ago, and what they're inventing right now in the pharmaceutical industry is going to make retatrutide look like a joke. And retatrutide left Ozempic behind completely in clinical trials. It beats tirzepatide no problem, and we're talking about more weight loss for less side effect. The stuff they're developing right now is going to lead to a late 2020s, in my view, in which for almost everyone, if you don't want to be obese anymore, you just take the medication and you won't be. But if you do, you just don't take the medication and you will be. Why can just one pill or one injection do so much? because it makes you less hungry fundamentally. And then when you're not really hungry, you stop eating as much food, and all these weird other hypotheses about why we were getting fat. Ozempic kind of crushed all of them out. Because it's like, how does it just do all that?
That's so funny. I mean, there's a big... I'm going to be fascinated to observe the way that most people see the GLP-1 category of drugs. I've been surprised by the negativity of the pushback.
I haven't.
You haven't been surprised by it?
No, not at all. Oh my God.
Why?
People have a reflexive anti-pharmaceutical, anti-capitalist, anti-corporate, anti-drug attitude. It's some kind of smorgasbord of those comes out anytime, all the time, with tons of people.
Oh, so this is like the natty or not of fat. Like it's the fatty or not.
Fatty or not. Definitely fatty. Like I meant that in a different way.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I think some people have an issue with the fact that they feel like it's kind of cheating. You know, I had to get there.
I'd love to tackle that one.
Okay.
Yeah. It's, I see where people are coming from for the respectful part of my talk, which ends now and begins the disrespectful part of my talk. It's pure nonsense. You use air conditioning. When you break your leg, you go to the hospital and you get antibiotics. You cheating motherfucker. Aren't you supposed to be eating rocks and bashing your head into a caribou to kill it or something like that? As a matter of fact, the first tool industry millions of years ago that proto-humans made, one of them is like the Olduvai tool industry. They discover these now where it's like, flint rocks that are shaped in a no longer natural pattern, whittled down into something like a little club head or a little spike that you can at least like pull an animal's guts apart easier or even kill something with. They were cheating. That's the first cheating they've ever done. Artificial. And it made them better at stuff. Your ability to lose weight can be a test of your willpower. Or you can take the pill or the injection and with no added willpower, lose all the weight you want. And then you can test your willpower on tending to your family better, being a kinder person to others, being someone of moral authority to others by how you live your life, coaching Little League football and being on time for the kids instead of standing in a fucking Hardee's line getting your third cheeseburger for that day. You can start a business. You can save the world. You can clean up the atmosphere. Everything. We're not running out of problems. So if we have body fat as this thing that's going to sharpen our will and we get rid of that, the set of problems remains approximately infinite still, and you can sharpen your will on what's left over. If you think you're tough and proving your willpower to yourself by losing fat, you're right. But you're not getting jacked. You're not building a business because you're draining all of your willpower on that one thing. It's a good thing we have pills to help us with as much as possible so then we can have more bandwidth to do all the other good stuff that we want to do.